I've harvested some of my worm castings. It's taken me a few days to be able to try to get some of it separated. I still have some worms in here. I'm okay with that. I don't have really big worms. They're young worms, but I have a ton of worms still in my worm bin. So these are going to go out in the garden, and what you want is to have worm castings in your garden, and that's what this is. So being able to put some of my composting worms in my containers will only continue to have worm castings that I don't have to add, because they will already be in there and they'll be making worm castings. So I'm going to spread this into the garden and see how far I can get. I'm working with one hand today. I do apologize for the wind noise as well as the sun, but I have a couple of containers that I've created. Well, more than a couple, but I've created some new containers, and all I'm going to do is just scratch in a little pinch full of worm castings and then cover it up. And if there are any worms or worm eggs, they will find a place in my container. So I'm going to do that for all of my containers, and I'll show you one more. Here's another container. Hopefully you can see better. I'm just going to scratch around like that, grab a pinch of worm castings out of my container, because you don't need a lot. Cover it back up. And again, if there are worms in there or worm eggs, they will have a new home to create, thrive, have their own new colony, and allow my plants to have nutrients from their worm castings. So let me finish up and I'll be right back. I don't know if you can tell by the size of this pot. It's a relatively big pot. I got it from a nursery who was giving away nursery pots, and I have added in here the last bit of my leaf mold. Now, when I was creating new containers this year, I was using leaf mold in the bottom as I made my hugelkultur. Now, this is roughly about almost halfway full of leaves. So I'm gonna go around and top off my containers with this leaf mold. You already saw me add a little bit of fertilizer. I used my homemade vermicompost. And so now I'm going to be adding this. I'm not going to show you me adding the leaf mold, but I did want to show you that this is the last of the leaf mold that I made before I left North Texas. So I've already made plans to harvest leaves for this year. So I am ready. So that's what I'm doing today. As you all saw, there's lots of activity, and this is the next one. I said I wasn't going to show you me sprinkling leaf mold, but I changed my mind. This is a container that I took those small sweet potatoes out of. I have refreshed this soil with fertilizer. I have replanted the roots and the tiny little sweet potatoes, and I'm gonna add just a nice dusting of leaf mold, and then I'm going to plant some peas, some fall peas. So let me get some more and I'll be right back. I hope you all can hear me. I didn't plan on making a video. I was out here taking care of some chores, and dumping out the leaf mold into that big pot was one of them. So I am just going to take this leaf mold that I put on the top and just spread it out. I'm not going to dig it in. I'm just going to leave it on the top. If worms find their way into this container, they will bring it down into the container, and I'm okay with that. So I'm going to add these Alaskan peas. I hope they're viable. I'm going to put the entire pack in here. And I'm also going to add some of these Oregon sugar pot. I should have my reading glasses on, but I don't. My Oregon sugar pot 2 snow peas. Now, the one thing I can say for all of my new subscribers, and I want to say, hey, everybody. I know I have already said hey, but we're at it again. If you have a packet of seeds, if they mention a cold climate like Oregon or Alaska or Russia, those are going to be seeds that can withstand a little bit of cooler temperatures. So just remember that. That's for my new subscribers, because I know I have a significant amount of new subscribers, and I want to make sure that I am adding that tidbit of information. So I am going to sow these seeds. So let's get to it. Because I want to be transparent, I decided to put a little bit of store-bought soil just on the top, because it has some nutrients in it, and I have had this soil for a while. I think this is one of my older containers, and I've been refreshing the soil. However, I feel like it's missing something, which is one of the reasons, besides water, my sweet potatoes did not grow. Now, I don't feel as if I need to put any coconut coir, but I'm going to get at least maybe a scooper full and sprinkle it over the top, just in case. So let me get that. I am trying to give my containers as much fertilizer as I can so that they grow food. I'm feeding the soil. You have to feed your soil in order for your plants to be able to take it up. You can put as much fertilizer as you like in your containers, but if it's not being basically eaten by the microbes in the soil, then it won't get to your plants. And so I am trying to feed my soil. Now, I wasn't going to mush this in. I was going to just leave it on the top, but I have henceforth changed my mind, and I have the right to do so. That's my prerogative. So I'm just going to take this and just kind of mix it in the top layer, just like so. Just like that. Now, see a little sweet potato. I'm going to put that back in there. Just cover it up. As I mentioned, I did put my sweet potatoes back in there, so I'm hoping that, see here, I'm hoping that the sweet potatoes will just grow on their own in the spring. We'll see how that goes. I've never done it this way, but I have been watching a few different people who've had success with their sweet potatoes, so I'm trying to emulate to see if that will work for me. I know where I went wrong in several areas, so I'm going to do my best not to do that in 2024. So now that I have all of my fertilizer, a little bit of new compost or store-bought potting soil, and a little bit of coconut coir, I'm just going to put these beans in here and push them down. I'm not going to follow the packet's instruction. I'm going to follow my own mind and just put these beans in here sporadically. If they come up, that's great. If they don't, that's fine too. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't know how long I've had this packet. A lot of my seeds I purchased several years ago before I moved from North Texas. And because of that, my seeds are old. They did not have the proper storage. They were traveling with me in my car. I ended up leaving them in the car for several weeks before I was able to move into the house. The weather was fluctuating from cold to warm, so I don't know if my seeds will or won't germinate. But what I can say is this: in nature, there is no one monitoring the weather, and seeds come up all on their own with no help from man. So it doesn't matter if it's cold or not. If they hit the ground, they have the right temperature, water, and all the right things, then those seeds come up. So that's what I'm thinking from here on out is going to be my thought processes when I am planting something. I'm not going to worry about what the seed packet says. I'm going to put it in. If it's meant to come up, it'll come up. So these are the Oregon Sugar Pod 2s. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to sprinkle them over on this side. I'm going to fill this entire container with these peas because of 2 reasons. Okay, that's enough. 2 reasons. The first reason is I want to bring back nitrogen in this container. And so I am putting these peas in here. Peas and beans will leave nitrogen in your soil. So I want to make sure that I have nitrogen. Again, I'm focusing on fertilization. Now, there are a whole lot more of these Oregon peas here than the Alaskan peas, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm just going to poke them in. I'm not going to do anything major. Just going to poke them in and then rough the soil over the top. That's all I'm doing. I'm not worried about spacing. Nature doesn't worry about spacing. I'm not going to worry about spacing. Not right now. The goal again is to have food to put forth fertilizers in my containers so that I can have. And that is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Now, I'm not here to tell you to do this. If you want to follow the seed packets instructions, I say do that. I think you have success in more than one way. And I believe that this way you can also have success. Like I mentioned before, nature doesn't sit out there and put seeds in particular areas and go, okay, this is a good spot. Let me put this seed 18 inches, 12 inches, 10 inches, however many inches away from this one. Nature just drops a seed on the ground. Birds drop seeds in the ways that birds drop seeds. And before you know it, you got stuff growing in your garden that you did not plant. So that is what I am doing. That is my thought going forward. I'm not going to sit and worry so much about things that are out of my control. So I'm just going to cover them up like this, getting them back in there, just like that. And now this is going to go in the cattle panel. That is seed. Get in there, seed. Seed's playing games with me. Now I am going to top this with some wood chip. I have it right here in the bucket. This was the wood chip that I took out of this container. So I'm going to put it back in just like that. Now I have already put a significant amount of wood chips on my containers, trying to get them ready for, look here, look at this mess. I thought I got all of this. Now I'm going to have to rearrange some stuff. I'm not going to do it. These are sweet potatoes. I thought I pulled them all out, but I did not. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to move this wood chip back and I'm going to place it up under the wood chip. And we're going to do it like that. Just like that. I'm not going to fool with it. Any little pieces like this, I'm going to put it on top of the soil and under the wood chip. And when the beans grow and the wood chip begins to break down, it will create a soil. These mosquitoes are worrying my nerves. I'm going to have to hurry up and get in the house. My goodness. And so once the wood chip breaks down, it will create a soil. If it's not enough soil, I'll add some more. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm just going to leave those just like that for now. And in the spring, I will take this wood chip back once the peas die back. I'll cut the tops off of the peas. I'll put a little bit more soil because the soil is going to depress down. It's going to sink. I'll put a little bit more soil on top of those sweet potatoes and we'll call it good. But I'm not going to stress over right now. So this is going to go back into the cattle panel and on to the next project. Okay, it's just that kind of a day for me that it's not that I'm not thinking about y'all, but you know, right now it's fall. You have less daylight in the evening hours and I'm just trying to get some stuff done. So I mixed up a little bit of soil. This is how I do it in my garden. And this could be the problem in some of my containers, but we'll see. I use, and I've been using this for a number of years. I did try Kellogg's a couple times, but that was probably over 5 years ago. If I'm at the blue box store, I will get the Stay Green. If I'm at the orange box store, I'll get the Kellogg's. But I went to the blue box store today. I picked up one bag of the Stay Green and one bag of this inexpensive cow manure and compost. It's a 555. It's supposed to be comparable to Black Cow. I used to use Black Cow, but I'm watching my pennies. And so today I decided to get the composted manure in this bag. It's less expensive. So that's what I've been using this year. This is the first year that I've ever tried this cow manure. We'll see how it works for me. If I don't like it, then next year, if I need some soil, I'll do something different. But I'm in the midst of planting up my new cut flower garden, and I needed some soil for the containers over there. So let me show you what the soil looks like and what I do with it once I get it. This is the huge container I showed you all. I mix my soil up in here, and I leave my soil in here until I'm done with it and I've used all of it. As you can see, this is not just bag soil. I have added coconut coir, I have added vermiculite and perlite in here. Now this is extremely dry. I have not put any moisture in here. As soon as I put moisture in here, it will look a little bit richer, but right now everything is as dry as a bone. This is the soil mix that I make. This is what's in all of my new containers that I've created thus far since moving to this house. All the other containers are a mixture of let me show you. All of my original containers are a mixture of the Stay Green soil and or the Kellogg's and Black Cow. That was prior to me moving from North Texas. This is a new bag that I just started using. Like I said, I'm watching my coins since moving, and so I bought that. But I was using either this or Kellogg's and Black Cow in all of my original containers since moving to North Texas, and now this since moving to South Texas. We'll see how this works. But that's the mixture that I use when I am making my soil in all of my containers. All right, family. I went to the big box store, and you all saw in the last clip the soil that I used to mix to create all the containers in my garden. You know that I changed the soil this January. Well, here it is, December, and I'm changing it one more time. I was watching the So Good Gardener, Calvin, and he was using the Living Earth organic garden soil. Locally sourced in the Big T, y'all, locally sourced in the Big T. So I am going to use this and see how this works. I love the fact that it's landfill free. It's perfect for raised beds, no biosoils, enhanced with organic fertilizer. We'll see. You know, they could put anything on a packet, but we will see. So this is what I'm going to incorporate in the garden as I'm creating, or basically right now, topping off my containers for the fall. I'm topping them off with organic matter, compost, and wood chip to feed the soil. As I mentioned, the name of the game for 2024 is properly feed, properly feed, properly feed. And hopefully this will correct not just the organic soil, but what I'm doing will correct the things that happened from January until now. So before I get out of here, I want to show y'all one last thing I picked up at the big box store. This is a alocasia elephant ear. All of my elephant ears succumb. You all saw if you've been watching my channel for a while that I usually have elephant ears in the garden, and the transition from North Texas to South Texas, them being all my pots pretty much being out in the cold in the wintertime until I was able to move into the house. A lot of things succumb. And then, of course, summer came, and we all know it was 80 days straight of 100 plus degrees. So, yeah, that killed off a few other things. And so I found this on clearance But look what else was in the pot. It had a bunch of babies. I think I've got like, I don't know, let's see. I just took them apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 babies. 6 babies. So I've got 7 plants out of that one find that was a clearance find. They had 2 out there. All I needed was 1, and I looked to see that it had babies. And so I am going to hopefully have, excuse my voice, y'all. It's been a long day. Hopefully have some beautiful allocations in the garden. I will be putting these in the greenhouse over the winter. Right now, the weather is still relatively nice. It's cool in the mornings, but it's getting up to the 60s and 70s still in the afternoons. We occasionally have 50s, but it's still relatively warm-ish. So I'm going to leave this outside, and that's pretty much it, y'all. I'm in the garden potting up, and once I finish potting these allocations up, I am done for the day. It is probably almost 4 o'clock. I've been outside all day long since 9 o'clock working on the front yard, edging, planting fall bulbs, and I still have more bulbs to plant, but your girl is tired. So until I can see you again in the next video, bye for now.